Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. So, I want to talk about the new moon in Taurus, but in a very different light, because I wasn't planning on making this video. Because I've already talked about the new moon in Taurus. Almost every YouTube astrologer has talked about the new moon in Taurus, and it'll be officially perfecting in my neck of the woods in the United States. On the East Coast around 9:30 tonight. So I wasn't going to talk about this further because, I said as much as I wanted to say in the last video, but I do want to talk about some insights I've been receiving this morning around what comes next, right? Now, like any new moon, we plant seeds in the ground. We have intentions, things that we've been through in the last lunation cycle kind of, bring us to this point of a rebirth or some kind of renewness in some way. And we're given an opportunity to grow something or put some new intentions and some new motivations in play. And if we want to work with magic and alchemy with astrology, we can intentionally use transits, like I've discussed many times, to, have that energy available to us, and we can use it, and progress our life in many, many different ways. Now, everything we've been through in the last couple of months really are things that will be sinking into the ground and sticking with us long term. When you have a historic transit like the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, that is something that we're still feeling right now, and we will continue to feel pretty potently until Jupiter gets into Gemini. But also, we will be feeling this long-term in a generational sense because it's such a historic, rare event, especially the fact that this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction will be the last one in Taurus, for another 83 years. And then with the solar eclipse that we had in Aries, the full moon in Scorpio, the fact that Mercury retrograde has, hit Chiron once, retrograded back and hit Chiron, and then moving forward again, literally today, as I record this, Chiron and Mercury are conjunct. And that's very important to consider for this new moon because it's almost like the final moment where we come to terms with our Aryan wound. There's something in your birth chart in Aries that has been suffering and been a focal point of some kind of attention in the realm of healing. I don't know what kind of healing, it could be physical healing, it could be mental healing. It depends on what area of your life Aries is, because when Chiron transits, it usually provides us with a very long time of something that just needs to be addressed, in this lifetime. So what's making this new moon so important is the fact that we are now coming out of the end of the tunnel of everything we've been through. We have Mercury conjoining Chiron today, which is really providing us with like the last dose of a lot of the heavy shit we've been through, or at least we're finally able to sort of sink in to the truth of whatever your story has been about. Now, Mercury has a few more degrees to go before we're completely out of the integration phase, the post-shadow. Once Mercury gets to about 26, 27 degrees of Aries, then it will be at the exact point that Mercury was at before it retrograded. And that will be coming in the next week or so. And then Mercury will enter Taurus around, I think, May 16th, if I'm not mistaken. And that's why I want to talk about this new moon one last time today, because what comes after Mercury finally leaves Aries? Because this is the pivotal point, I believe, that we really start to see things manifest, energetically, verbally, any sort of inner communication or outer communication. And this is where Mercury starts to make things real. Because right now we're just in this action, we're impulsive potentially, because Aries is activating Mercury again to be very progressive in taking action, or at least planning, just very stimulated. Like we just got plugged back into the light socket, and we're trying to deal with the wounds that we have, and we're trying to come to terms with certain things. We're still coming off the hangover of the eclipse, and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction has just been blowing up the world and blowing up our lives, and with sudden revelations or whatever massive shift most likely occurred for you in Taurus. Mercury moving into Taurus in about a week or so will be very significant for this post new moon. And when Mercury enters Taurus, we're dealing with air energy. We're dealing with a lot of analytics. We're dealing with like planning techniques and skills. We're dealing with communication, right? When that gets into an earth sign such as Taurus, where we're really dealing about the tangible earth world, right? The material world, how we grow stuff, money, or, items, and just things that are a part of our life that bring us material, physical joy, expansion, prosperity. And Mercury going into that sign with all of the action that Taurus has been providing us, especially now that the new moon concluded by that point, we will be able to communicate and integrate and really narrow our focus to begin achieving some of those seeds we want to plant, by achieving some of the things that our intentions maybe have been set on there. Which is why it's so important to set your intention, or to set some focus in whatever you feel is right and truthful for you in this moment, I guess, when it comes to what you've learned from your Chiron Arian story with the eclipse and Mercury retrograde, all that stuff, how that's linking in to your Taurus story. Because once Mercury gets into Taurus, we want to be able to elevate ourselves intellectually. We need to be able to come back to the mind. We need to be able to use the mind and use our communication outlets, even if this is an inner communication dialogue, being very clear as you can with talking to yourself and talking to others, and figuring out a way to use that energy of Mercury in the solid earth sign of Taurus. So when we're discussing post-new moon vibes, post-new moon goals, post-new moon energies, Mercury is going to be a very dominant energy, a dominant ingress, for how we move forward, So we always talk about, every astrologer is like, oh, well, time to start something new, time to plant seeds in the ground. This is a rebirth moment, with Jupiter and Uranus there could be, we still have some amazing energy to take advantage of, as far as, how we shift and pivot and expand things, and new insights, and there's intuitive downloads that are probably, if you really tune in, they're there and available to you. Uranus can provide that lightning bolt insight, especially with Jupiter still influencing, So that's very important, guys, to realize that when Mercury gets into Taurus, that we now have even more power for intellectual communication, intuitive insight, to first hit our intuitive system, but then to be translated so the mind can understand it well and really integrate it mentally and analytically, because we need our mind. We need the analytical mind to, navigate this world. And Mercury has been getting thrown around in Aries, and then the retrograde just totally made things, reverse. And I'm sure a lot of us second guessed some things in life. And, if you're a healer or someone who's very sensitive, you probably have been thrown through the fire. Literally, we've all walked through the fire, I think. A lot of us sensitives and healers, astrologers, seekers, truth seekers, I think we felt it the most. And that's something really, this is an important moment, as we move forward post this new moon, and when Mercury gets into Taurus, because now I think we have to be able to intellectually ground ourselves and, get back on the saddle and, try our best to focus on what we want to, move forward in, or, whatever your new moon story is about for you, So Mercury will be there in a week or so to help, make these things more conscious and to make these things more mental, which is a good thing right now. Because there's a lot of other shit going on in the world that's so very confusing, and we're very ungrounded, guys. I'm not saying just because Mercury's going into Taurus, everything's gonna be fine and dandy and clear, because obviously the world is just getting crazier. Neptune is at the anaretic degree. We still have Saturn in Pisces. So between Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, that kind of overwhelms the confusion and delusion and the fog of reality a little bit. So we can't ignore that that's happening. But what I'm saying is post-eclipse, when we're dealing with Mercury's story and we're dealing with all this gorgeous Taurian energy, if we use it for the right reasons and for the most, positive, ways in our life, there's a lot of energy to, kind of get back on track and to kind of, move through the confusion and delusion and, just the chaos of life a little bit more grounded. And that's what's so beautiful about astrology. Like I say many times, is we can use potent energies that are available to help even during times of chaos, confusion, struggle. And then Mars is a wild card. Once Mercury's out of Aries, Mars is all alone with Chiron and the North Node. And that's still significant, Mars in the North Node. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video, because that's also going to be a part of the post-new moon, integration, so to speak. So maybe I'll talk about that, coming up, because a lot of people don't talk about the North Node, South Node transits in the sky, because those are very important points. But yeah, Mars is a wild card. It's all by himself. It's not conjunct anything. It's not aspecting anything, at least anything significant. So we'll talk about that in a later date. But Mars is definitely going to be providing things in the Aries part of your life that I think will be very beneficial for taking more action and giving us the energy, to integrate the Taurus Mercury stuff that will be coming. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope that this helped and resonated with you in some way. I will talk about Mars more again. That just made me think, right now that I need to talk about more about Mars again, because now that Mars will be left alone in Aries, technically speaking, without any major aspects, even though Mars will be, Mars will be touching Gemini placements pretty soon. I think, so that'll be really important to talk about in the future. But we have to remember that Aries is still activated. This is kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That would really help the channel's growth. And I will see you all very soon. Sending you so much love.